Hello, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are all doing good. Today we're going to be talking about the 2019 Baselworld and my predictions for it. Now, with Swatch Group announcing last year that they would no longer be attending Baselworld, this very well may be the last one. So that also means that my predictions for the 2019 Baselworld show are going to be relatively short, consisting of Tudor, Seiko, and Rolex. And let's be honest, the Baselworld show might as well just be called the Rolex show with some other watch brands there too, since it is the main talk of the watch community months after the show and is the main focus of most media sources attending the Baselworld show as well. So with that being said, let's get into it. Number one is Tudor. I do think we will see a new Tudor Black Bay. We'll probably even see a new Tudor Black Bay 39mm case, since that was released at last year's Baselworld, and they would obviously want to expand the 39mm case lineup. It's a bit of an obvious one, but still. The next watch is, of course, the Tudor Black Bay GMT. They released the Pepsi last year. Obviously this year we may see a Coke, keeping up the soda-themed Tudors, or even a black one with a red GMT hand, like the old Rolexes, or even something like a root beer. There was a rumor last year that they would be releasing a new Tudor Black Bay GMT in a 39mm case. Definitely something to look out for. And of course we need to talk about the photo that was released on Tudor's Instagram showing this triangular indice, which quite honestly reminds me of the old indices that used to be on the Tudor subs, the circles and triangles, which of course means we could be seeing a new Tudor sub released at this year's Baselworld, or a Tudor Black Bay with this circle and triangular indices paying homage to the old Tudor subs. Either way, it is something to look forward to at this year's Baselworld. Up next is, of course, Seiko. Now, we have already had a few new Seiko models announced for this year, including two new Seiko Monsters and this green and blue Seiko 62 Moss reissue. But I have some ideas of my own and some predictions for this year's Baselworld for Seiko, so let's get into it. Now, since it is the 50th anniversary of the moon landing this year, and 50 years of mankind being in space, I do think Seiko will be releasing a new or reissue or limited edition of the Seiko Pogue. If you don't know what the Seiko Pogue is, it is the watch that William Pogue wore during the Space Lab mission. Now, I do think if Seiko decides to reissue the Seiko Pogue, it would be some sort of limited edition and very expensive as well. It is a bit unfortunate. They have been pulling a page out of the Omega playbook by making every other watch like Omega a limited edition. It is still a very impressive watch with a very core history behind it. Now, with green dive watches being all the rage, like the Rolex Hulk, the green Oris Aquis, and the green Seiko Marine Master, which was of course a limited edition released at last year's Baselworld. And I think it would be very cool to see a Seiko SBDC in some sort of green variant. This of course is the watch that has a similar case to the Seiko Marine Master, which they've already done a green Seiko Marine Master at last year's Baselworld, which was of course a limited edition. And I do think it would be very cool to see a Seiko SBDC, maybe with a green dial and a black bezel. maybe with a green bezel and a black dial, or a all green variant of the Seiko SBDC like they did for the Marine Master at last year's Baselworld. But what do you guys think of this watch having a green variant? Leave your guys' thought down in the comments below. And of course, since 2019 is the 50th anniversary of Seiko releasing the first ever quartz watch, which changed the watch market forever, and of course led to the quartz crisis and a whole bunch of watch brands going out of business, and of course the battery watches that we have today. And I do think Seiko will celebrate this anniversary with some sort of limited edition reissue at this year's Baselworld. And last but not least, there are some rumors that Seiko will be releasing a third generation Seiko Sumo at this year's Baselworld. It will have a sapphire crystal and a ceramic bezel insert. If you're a Seiko fan like myself, this is definitely something to keep an eye out for at this year's Baselworld. And last but not least is of course Rolex. Now there are a whole bunch of rumors going around that the Rolex Batman is going to be discontinued, the Rolex Explorer 2 will also be discontinued, and the Blue Milgauss would be discontinued. Truth be told, this is just all rumors because Rolex does not whatsoever announce what models they are going to be making in the future and what models they are going to be discontinuing until Baselworld. So it's all rumor and speculation. An interesting fact, there are no rumors right now that the Rolex Hulk will be discontinued at this year's Baselworld. And I think that this is probably the most likely watch to be discontinued at this year's Baselworld, simply because Rolex likes to keep a model around for 10 years before they upgrade and update it in some way. And for the current generation of Rolex subs, it is past this 10-year mark. But of course, this is all speculation and my opinion, and we'll have to wait and see if the Rolex Hulk is going to be discontinued at this year's Baselworld. With that being said, let's get into my predictions for Rolex at Baselworld 2019. Now, number one is a Rolex Coke GMT. Now, I do think that this is probably unlikely to happen just because we got a Pepsi and 4 new GMTs last year, and that means we would have 2 years in a row of Rolex releasing GMTs. Rolex does not have a tendency to repeat themselves whatsoever year after year, but we still might see it, and it is still something to keep an eye out for. Number 2 is the Rolex Air King. Now, back in the day, you used to have different dial colors to choose from for the Rolex Air King. Nowadays, there is only one Rolex Air King for the entire model lineup. And I do think Rolex could introduce a few new dial colors to choose from, or even update or upgrade the Rolex Air King in some way. Number 3, last but not least, is of course a new Rolex sub. I do think that this is probably the most likely watch we'll see out of this year's Baselworld, because like I said before, Rolex likes to update their models every 10 years or so, and for the current line of Rolex subs, it is past that 10-year mark. And I think it would be very cool to see a modern day ceramic bezel redline sub, something like they did for the Sea Dweller a few years back. And probably we will see a more slimmed down case with the next generation of Rolex subs, moving away from the maxi case design that we currently have now with the Rolex subs, similar to how they slimmed down the case for the GMTs at last year's Baselworld. And there you have my predictions for Baselworld 2019. But I want to hear what you guys want to see out of this year's Baselworld, so leave your guys' thoughts and what watches you would like to see down in the comments below. And I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, tell some friends, hit that bell icon, it notifies you guys when I post new videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.